yeah. Come on and praise His name. Come on and praise His name. Oh, yeah. How are you doing on this special day? Keeping your motive in a special way. Shabbat, 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 Shabbat. We are keeping Yahuwah lost in our enemy's land to revolt the curse. Shabbat, 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 Shabbat. He promised that He would gather us from the land of the enemies called Babylon. Shabbat, Shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat, Shalom. We are looking forward to the gathering of the saints of Yah to the new Jerusalem. Shabbat, 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 Shalom. Shabbat, Shalom. We will reign with Him for 1,000 years in that great old kingdom of Yah for the whole world to see. Shabbat, Shabbat, Shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat, Shalom. Shemaiah is right, yeah. Shabbat, Shalom. Yahuwah is right. Shabbat, Shalom. Let's celebrate Him now. Shabbat, Shalom. For the battle is already won. Oh, yes it is. Whoa. Shabbat, Shalom. Shabbat, Shalom. Shabbat, Shalom. were gone forth out of the land of Israel. The same day came they into the wilderness of Sinai, for they were departed from Rephidim, and were come to the desert of Sinai, and had pitched in the wilderness, and there Yasharel camped before the mountain. And Shemaiah went up unto Elohim, and Yah called unto him out of the mountain, saying, Thus shalt thou say to the house of Yaakov, and tell the children of Yasharel, You have seen what I did unto the Mizraimites, and how I brought you with eagle's wings, and brought you unto myself. Now therefore, if you will obey my voice indeed, and keep my covenant, then you shall be a peculiar treasure unto me, above all people, for all the earth is mine. You shall be unto me a kingdom of priests, and a Kodesh nation. These are the words which thou shalt speak unto the children of Yasharel. Sons and daughters of the covenant of Yah. We are the sons and daughters of the covenant.
Shabbat Shalom. Shalom Shabbat. Chag Sameach. For those that celebrate the feast of Festival of Lights, that was dedication, I think. Somebody asked me earlier. I'm not against. I have different viewpoints. As long as you're not, I don't participate in Christmas, the festivities and the pagan. But on on last week, the what do you call it? The feast of dedication happened to be on Christmas Day. So somebody asked me that question. It's not in Leviticus 23, so it's not a required feast day. If you choose to keep it, to honor it, hey, to each his own. I don't think the Most High going to send you to the lake of fire if you do it, but that's just my thought with regards to it. But the 3 times in the year the Most High gave us the 3 times in the year in Leviticus 23. So I guess it's kind of like us having special days that we, like a wedding anniversary or a birthday, whatever the case, and all that stuff, basically birthdays and stuff like that, or pagan practices. We become indoctrinated by paganism, so we live our life like the pagans, because basically the bottom line. So most of the things that we become attached to was not our custom originally. So you better not forget your wedding anniversary and your wife's birthday or your husband's birthday, because you're gonna be in trouble. Because we in the captivity, and that's what the pagans have taught us, and we have adopted, traditionally have practiced things down through the years, and that's why we do what we do. So that's my take on that. Brother and sister, let everybody know, come in and like the video right away so it can get up in the algorithm. Last week we had a lot of hits from the lesson last Shabbat, and this Shabbat is going up another notch with this today. So we got a lot to cover in this particular sharing. So if you got somebody that, all of our Christian apologists that's looking for some ammunition where they can chop up the Hebrew Israelite movement, tell them, come on in here, come on in, and we're gonna give them some ammunition today. Just kind of been in and out, trying to finish my book at the same time, trying to prepare the lesson for the week. So if my mind is kind of a lot of different places as I share, it's because my head is in book mode. So I may throw some nuggets out there that's from the book, and it's going to be very enlightening, right? So today's lesson. Today's lesson. Hold on a second. Let me see if I can pull up my. Just bear with me 1 second here while I pull up the lesson. Okay. All right. Here it is right here. There you go. There you go. Let's bring it over here. All right. So the lesson for today is, and we're continuing along with our history, right? History of the called out ones, right? And so those, the haters, you know, what you're going to find out here, brothers and sisters, here is that the Gentiles, this Gentile right here, they're finding out that our history is older when it comes to the Hebraic covenant than the Europeans. And so they're sweating right now in their noses because they're like, wow, if this word gets out, it's going to be curtains for us. And what's his name? Rabbi Harry. he made a comment about how that everybody's not going to return back to Israel because it's talking about a spiritual return and not physically returning back to the land, because the land won't be able to hold all the Israelites there, because the land is about the size of New Jersey, right? So, but he doesn't know that the land of Israel is not that little piece, right? Or either he doesn't know, or he's basically trying to pull people's leg. But I say the jig is up. Because the truth is coming out, right? So today we're going to talk about how Abraham taught his African, right? And I mean African, taught his African sons circumcision and the law, right? How Abraham taught his sons, his African sons, let's be clear, let me back it up again. How Abraham taught his African sons. African sons. In other words, his black sons. They hate to hear that because the truth has been hidden for so long, right? What is it?
Oh, you act like you're in the camera.
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
The truth has been hidden for so long.
Delayed.
That now that it's coming out, though the knowledge shall increase, right? Knowledge is increasing, and the thing of it is that we're waking up, right? And here's the thing, brothers and sisters. I'm gonna say this here. I love my family, biological family, but they're caught up in paganism. That's why they can't get with where we're going with this, because I've been doing this for almost 30 years. I haven't changed, because once you get the connection, you realize, see, the most high, that's why this lesson was put together, right? The Most High didn't call us to be paupers. He called us to be priests, right? Kohenists. Feminine. I've created a feminine version of it. And he called us to be above all the nations of the earth, right? So we have adopted the pagan mentality of slothfulness, right? We don't want to do nothing because we're oppressed, right? But we're quick to embrace all of the paganisms of the world, right? But here's the thing. To all my brothers and sisters and cousins and colleagues from school that peep in and watched us from time to time, you might hate hearing a truth like this, but if you jump on board now, let's say get on board the ship. You get on board the ship now, when the Messiah returns and sets up the kingdom in the land where we came from, you're going to be in the cabinet with the elite. If you don't jump on board the ship, and you kick against it and you fight, and everything's more important than being the priest that we called to be, you're going to be the tail. You're going to be above the other nations, but you're going to be at the bottom of the scale amongst Israel. Yeah. You're going to be in the temple offering the sacrifices, right? those of us that embrace, that's what you call the first fruits and the great harvest, right? So that's the whole thing in a nutshell. So you can attack, YouTube has hit the algorithms to block this channel, because if I was talking trash, I have 200,000 subscribers on this channel. If I was talking all that foolishness, nonsense, but when you start talking stuff, truth like this, right? It's only for the remnant. It's only for that select, right? So that's why I'm not offended. When I look at other channels, right, you can put out all kinds of content to prove we Israel, and you can expose. It's just a matter of time when YouTube will get to the point where they say, you know what, we're gonna terminate this channel. They'll let you get to your height, and then your channel will be terminated. That's what happened to me. And since that time, the channel has been blocked. Okay. So only a select few people. That's why I say, when I ask you all come in, hit the like button, because it just might trigger the system to allow it to get out to more, right? So right now is our practicing ground, right? We have Israelites who are so agitated because we are like the third and fourth generation of this captivity, and the chickens have come to roost, right? So you have a lot of bitter, angry, frustrated. The youth of the day is lost. They way out there. They have no interest in spiritual things, right? I got grands. They'd rather be up all night on iPhone chatting all night than get some spiritual something that's going to be of substance, because they're of that third and fourth generation, right? Okay, so let me get into the lesson here. Okay, let me give my greetings here. Alrighty, let's see. This is okay. I like when I see new names in here. It's kind of inspirational, because I like a good challenge. When somebody comes at me throwing a rock, I'm like, bring it. But the thing about it is, when people come in this room and they're throwing a rock, trying to make a point, right? When I reach back out to them, they never respond back. They're just doing that to kind of try to distract what we're doing. That's all. It's just, I call them trolls. They'll make a comment and won't come back when I come back with some facts, right? I go to a lot of people's channels and make a comment, ask them a question, they don't come back and respond to the question that was asked, because they already know they full of folly and falsehood. They want to tell lies and make money. Everybody's on YouTube, generally speaking, for revenue, for the most part, right? Some people don't work, some people do work, right? So revenue is the thing that why a lot of channels are out there. So they're not interested in truth. They're interested in getting revenue from the channel. So they'll say Christmas is not pagan. I've seen them out there, and I get on the thing and I ask the question. Okay, all right. But anyway, let's get to the lesson. Father, we thank and praise you for this Shabbat you allow us to see. Praise you for all those that come in to join today, to join in this session. We pray that you give us some knowledge and some comprehension to those that are new to this walk, those that are new to this channel. Let us speak truth and not just our own opinions, and speak things hard and loud, but just say what is right, what is written in the records that you've given to us. We give you praise, give you honor, name Yahshua Mashiach. We say hallelujah.
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 Todayah.
Todayah.
Amen.
Amen.
So we got a coach Sherry SC. What's SC?
We have been communicating something with somebody else.
All right.
Maybe.
Good to see you, my sister. We got Brother Lights. Good to see you, my brother. Brother Light. Brother Andres is here with us today again. Let's see. We got Bryson is here with us. Bryson 34. We got Miss. Is it Migsmar? Migsmar. Good to see you. Welcome. We have, let's see, Catherine and Brother G. That's right. He said, when Most High wake you from your slumber, it's very dangerous to go back to sleep. And I'll go a step further and say this. If you are awakened from that slumber, you can't go sleep because the truth is in you. You might try to kick it to the side and try to... See, I'm going to tell you something, right? Brother G. Enemy play tricks with your mind. It's like, I often hear the enemy tell me all the time, why don't you go back to the church and build your church? You can become a millionaire overnight. Because the way you teach and your talents you got, people will flock to you. I'd be a mega pastor. I know I would. I had 300 members when I was in the Christian church. I had my own bus. And I was on my way to getting some training to become a mega pastor, church mega pastor. And I was going to have my own private jet. I was going to have 5 or 6 churches in the States, fly out to my churches. I had a plan. But I chose to suffer with the people of Yah. Sometimes I be like, man. Sometimes I'm already to the side. Sometimes I get buyer's remorse. It's all good, though. I'm gonna get my reward in the kingdom. All right. Oh, South Carolina. Okay. Oh, South Carolina. Down there, South Carolina. That's where you're from. Okay, that's what you're saying. South Carolina. Got you. Oh yeah, so Brother G, yeah, absolutely,
Where do you see Brother G at?
He's under Catherine's sign in. He always tons and he texts. He lets me know it's him. I know it's him. Okay, all right. How did you come into the truth? Me? Is that a question for me, or are you asking somebody else, Brother Bryson? My testimony is on the channel. So, basically, mine was divine revelation is what it was. Okay. In the church and fasting, seeking the Most High, and heard a voice tell me that I was an Israelite. And that's my story. And along the way, different things crossed my path from a child, different things that kind of made stuff come out that made sense to me. One of the biggest things was the Shabbat. Why do we worship on Sunday? Why do we gather on Sunday if the Bible said the 7th day? It was one of my biggest, as a kid, one of my biggest questions. And everybody said, well, the Lord's Day. We worship on the Lord's Day and all of that. Sunday was changed in honor of the resurrection day, right? They never said with me, right? But as I got older and began to study, then it came to me that we're supposed to be on. So anyway, without further ado, let's go and get to the lesson here, brothers and sisters. We're going to be reading from the Book of Jubilees. So those of you that have the Book of Jubilees, we'll put it on the screen. But those of you that have the Book of Jubilees, pull up the Book of Jubilees, and we're going to start right with introductory to Abraham, and then we're going to get into Abraham teaching his sons, his African sons, right? It's in the book. It's in the books. The books let us know that Abraham's sons were the Africans, right? That were Africa was named after. Of course, you had some Hamites, but when you look at Abraham as a whole, that you can't separate the Shemitic line from the Hamitic line. So for Israelites that attack the Hamites, you just might be attacking your own bloodline, because Abraham's maternal side, right, was Cushites from Ham. Okay. The Chaldeans, we talked about that in different lessons. The Chaldeans and the Elamites and all them, they were African people. Okay. The kingdom of Sumer, where Abraham came from, Ur of the Chaldees, right? Was they historically call them the black-headed people, right? So those were people, those were Negroid people. Okay. Now, when you say Negroid, you have to define what you mean by Negro to Negroes, right? You have two types of Negroes. You have Negro was the terminology used back then to refer to black people. So every Negro wasn't from the same tribes. Okay. All right. There's no such thing as black people. Okay. Now, so Malak Sadak, or Melchizedek, as is commonly expressed, was, according to the records, he was the son of Shem. Okay. Now we're going to read that. So let's go to the book of Jubilees. And let's see. Book of Jubilees. No, I'm sorry, not book of Jubilees. We're going to start with the book of Jasher first. The book of Jasher. Okay. We're going to start with the book of Jasher. And right at chapter 16, right? And in chapter 16. And this is an introductory to Abraham. And so don't touch the dial, because I'm gonna bring some receipts today. We're gonna read from some books that confirms that Abraham was the father of the Africans. Okay. When I was a kid, I said Abraham. Interesting that his name was Abraham. And Ham was the son of Noah. Abraham. There's a connection between Abraham, right? Okay, he didn't call him Yafet. His name was Abram, but they called him Abraham. Okay. And so in the religious people teach you that Ham means father of a multitude. But the father of the multitude of people, right, of color. So let's go in here, all right, to Jasher, the ancient book of Jasher. This is a digitized copy. I have hard copies, but we teach this way because it's more easier to put it on the screen so those that want to see can see it in black and white. Okay, so we're gonna start right here, verse 1, and where I got it highlighted. That's what I want to read, but we're just to kind of lay a foundation, to start right here, verse 1.
At the time, King Chedorlaomer of Elam sent a message to all the neighboring kings, to King Nimrod of Shinar, who was then under his power, and to King Tidal of Goyim, and to King Arioch of Elasar, with whom he made a covenant, saying, "Come up to me and assist me, that we may smite all the towns of Sodom and its inhabitants. For they have rebelled against me these 13 years. Right. And these 4 kings went up with all their camps, about 800,000 men, and they went as they were, and smote every man they found in their road. Right. And the 5 kings of Sodom and Gomorrah, Shinab, king of Admah, Shemember, king of Zeboim, Bera, king of Sodom, Bersha, king of Gomorrah, and Bela, king of Zor, went out to meet them, and they all joined together in the valley of Siddim. Right. And these 9 kings made war in the valley of Siddim, and the kings of Sodom and Gomorrah were smitten before the kings of Elam. And the valley of Siddim was full of lime pits, and the kings of Elam pursued the kings of Sodom. And the kings of Sodom with their camps fled and fell into the lime pits. And all that remained went to the mountain for safety. And the 5 kings of Elam came after them and pursued them to the gates of Sodom, and they took all that there was in Sodom, and they plundered all the cities of Sodom and Gomorrah, and they also took Lot, Abram's brother's son, and his property, and they seized all the goods of the cities of Sodom, and they went away.
Stop for a second. Okay. Now, so that's a lot of reading. So let me give you some context so you can be on the same page, right? So now let's go back up here. So if you look up here, you see Chedorlaomer was an Elamite king, right? Elam was one of the sons of Shem, right? Then you have Nimrod, right? Nimrod was a Cushite. So when you go to Genesis chapter 10, the table of nations, let's pull up real quick. And you go to Genesis chapter 10, you see Cush begot Nimrod, right? This is verse 8 here, right? So Cush begot Nimrod right here, right? So Nimrod was a son of Cush, who was the son of Ham, right? So they were Hamites, right? So Cush begot Nimrod. And then if you go down here to Shem, you see Shem, firstborn, I believe he was the firstborn, was Elam, right? So Elam was one of the kings that was in alliance with Nimrod. Now, interesting that Abraham lived amongst those people. We're going to see as we read later in this lesson. They were pagans. That's where your Christmas came from, brother. That's where the worshiping of the sun came from. That's where all of the deities, Hercules and different names for them. This next festivity coming up, Janus Day, right? The two-headed deity, right? All has origin in Babylon. Okay. Now, so they were in alliance against Abraham because Abraham left because I think it's in the book of Jubilees, you might read it today, that Nimrod had a dream that one of the sons of Terah, the grandsons, was going to kill him. So, because Abraham was a righteous man, he was tutored by Melchizedek or Malak Sadak. That's why we're bringing this out. So now let's go back to the, just wanted to bring you up to speed with that. All right. So we're going to start right here at 6b, right? Everything all right?
Mm-hmm. And eunuch, Abram's servant, who was in the battle, saw this and told Abram all that the kings had done to the cities of Sodom, and that Lot was taken captive by them. And Abram heard this, and he rose up with about 318 men that were with him. And that night he pursued these kings and smote them.
Right.
And they all fell before Abram and his men, and there was none remaining but the 4 kings who fled. Mm-hmm. And they went each his own road. And Abram recovered all the property of Sodom, and he also recovered Lot and his property, right, his wives and his little ones, and all belonging to him, so that Lot lacked nothing.
Hold for a second. So now, what we have to be clear about in this study is that where Abraham lived, and we're going to show it to you, was Canaan land, right? And Canaan let's go back to Genesis real quick again. Go back to Genesis, the table nation, which brings it all home. So Ham, let's blow it up. Ham, going back up, begot Cush, Mizraim, Phut, and Canaan. So Canaan land, when Abraham fled from Nimrod, his father was second in command to Nimrod because he was married to Nimrod's daughter. Okay? And so when Abraham fled from Nimrod, guess where he went? He went to Canaan land and lived there and set up his house. He lived there amongst the Canaanites. Y'all got to see this. Who else, when the boat landed, Noah's Ark landed, and the territory of real estate was given to the sons of Shem? Where did the Shemites dwell at after the flood? In Canaan land. Wait a minute. Somebody missed that. So our teachers didn't give us geography in teaching the Bible, because if Shem's land that was promised to him was the land in the middle, as we read in the book of Jubilees, as we read in Jasher and other books, the land that Shem lived in, all that land, including in Mesopotamia, was the promised land. From the river Euphrates to the river of Egypt. All of that whole four square, is where Shemites lived with Hamites, Cushites, Canaanites. The Egyptians lived on the western side, but all the land where the Shemites settled, it was a combination of Hamitic people and descendants of Cush and Canaan, right? Okay, so let's be clear. So in other words, if you want to modernize it, you could say the so-called Middle East, Mesopotamia, was an extension of Africa. Let me say that again. What we call today the Middle East, in the days of antiquity, that was Africa, because the sons that we call Africans originated there. Okay, so all of that was Hamitic territory, Hamitic and Shemitic, but Shem was under the government and the rulership of Cush, who was a Hamite, right? You didn't learn that in Sunday school. So, when we comprehend that, just using the Bible tool, and we know who the sons of Ham are, by default, the Shemites could be no other color than black. Okay? Including Esau. Okay? All right. Now that we've established that, let's go back and we stopped at verse 9, right? Mm-hmm. Okay.
And when he returned from smiting these kings, he and his men passed the valley of Siddim, where the kings had made war together, and Barak king of Sodom and the rest of his men that were with him went out from the lime pits into which they had fallen to meet Abram and his men. And King Adonizedek of Jerusalem, the same was Shem, went out to meet his men, to meet Abram and his people with bread and wine. And they remained together in the valley of Melech. Mm-hmm. And Adonizedek blessed Abram, and Abram gave him a tenth from all that he had brought from the spoil of his enemies, for Adonizedek was a priest before Yah.
Right. See that? So now we see that Shem, when the boat landed, he became, the name Adon means the sovereign, right? So Adon was a priest of Yah. He was a sovereign sent by Adon, Yah, the Most High, right? The Most High. He was a priestly king. That's what the name Adon Zedek means. Malak Sadak means the king of righteousness, right? So Shem was tutored by his father Noah, who was tutored by his grandfather Methuselah, who was tutored by his father Enoch. These were all priests, kings that ruled the earth, right? Passed down. So Shem outlived when his father Noah died. Shem had a son, right? We're going to read that in the lesson. But he outlived the son. Okay. So this priest was not I heard somebody say that Malak Sadak was a Canaanite king. No, he was a Shemite. He was Shem. Because Shem was the king of righteousness in the land that later became known as what? Israel. Right? Okay. Now, just bear with me a second here. I gotta... Bless you. Now, what I want to do is... I have in my notes here, so I don't know where I got this from. I think, okay, I see. Okay, I got it. Okay, here. Now, this is a quote. You're going to have to read it from here. This is a quote from a book entitled The Chronology of Ancient Kingdoms. The author is Sir Isaac Newton. And rather than have my issue to strain her eyes reading it, I cut and pasted in my notes so she can read it from there to make it easier on her, okay? So Sir Isaac Newton wrote in the year 1728, he had this to say about Malak Sadak. All right. So start right here where it says Malak Sadak, the priest of Jerusalem. Let's see. Wait a minute, is that what I want? Let's see. Hold on a second. 16 is just this one here. Okay, so I want to start right here. Malak was the priest. Okay, there you go.
Malak Sadak was a priest of the Most High Yah, and Abraham voluntarily paid tithes to him,
Right.
which he would scarce have done had they not been of one and the same religion.
We'll read that again so everybody can.
Malak Sadak was a priest of the Most High Yah.
So he was the priest of the Most High Yah. Other words, so he's Shem. Malak Sadak was Shem, Noah's son, Shem, right? And he was the righteous one because it was passed down to him from his father Noah, who was a righteous man, a preacher of righteousness, right? All these people kept the law, statutes, commandments of the Most High. Don't let nobody fool you. All right. Okay, go ahead.
And Abraham voluntarily paid tithes to him, which he would scarce have done had they not been of one and the same religion.
Right. So now that's my point. So if Melchizedek was a Canaanite priest, why would Abraham And this is what he's going to say. This is what I said, but this is what he says. When I saw it, I was like, wow. It's like this man's reading my mind. He wrote this book in 1700s. Why would Abraham leave from a pagan land to go to another pagan land, right? To fellowship with the pagan king? That wouldn't make sense, right? Mm-mm. Okay, let's continue. All right, go ahead.
The first inhabitants of the land of Canaan seem also to have been originally of the same religion.
Read that again.
The first inhabitants of the land of Canaan seem also to have been originally of the same religion.
Of the same religion. Go ahead.
And to have continued in it till the death of Noah and the days of Abraham. For Jerusalem was anciently called Jebus, and its people Jebusites, Jebus and Jebusites. And Melchizedek was their priest and king. These nations revolted, therefore, after the days of Melchizedek to worship the false deities.
Oh, so wait a minute. So Mr. Sir Isaac Newton seems like he's saying the same thing I'm saying, right? The land was originally called Jebusite or Jebusi, right? We can go to the King James and pull that out and show you where actually it is called Jebusi. So he knows what he's talking about, right? So the Jebusites. So who were the Jebusites? Let's go back into the King James. And Jebusite, Jebusite. Okay, so that's in our table of nations. So go to Genesis 10, right? And we see in Genesis 10, and what was it, 16? Canaan begat Sidon, his firstborn, Heth, and the who? The Jebusite. The Jebusite. Right? Now let me just try something real quick. All right, hold on a second. I gotta show you. Where is Jebusi in the Bible? Jebusi. Okay, Jebusi. Hold on. Okay, so Numbers. Okay, Numbers is saying Numbers 13 and 29. So let's do that. Numbers 13, right? When something comes up, I like to bring receipts out. Okay, 13 and 29. Okay, no, this is Jebusites. That's not what I'm looking for. We're going to see Joshua 11 and 3. 11 and 3. Okay, I'll come back to it. All right. I wanted to show you that. If anybody knows what that reference is, please post it in the comments. But the actual land was called Jebusite or Jebusi, right? I'm probably spelling it wrong. That's why I can't find it. But so that land was originally called Jebusi, right? I probably should spell it the way it is in the notes here. Okay. So Jebusi, where was I at? Really called Jebus. That's probably what it is, Jebus. Let's try it one last time and then we'll go ahead and move on. Okay. Oh, there. Okay, came up. There we go. Came up. So Judges 19 and 10. Let's pull up real quick. All right, Judges 19 and 10. We see it says, but the man would not tarry that night, but he rose up and departed and came over against Jebus. There it is, Jebus, which is Jerusalem. And there were with him 2 asses, saddled, his concubine also was with him. So see, Jebus is called Jerusalem, right? So Sir Isaac Newton is correct. So the land was originally called Jebu or Jebusi, or if you want to say it properly, is Yebu or Yabushi. And Yabushi became known as Yerushalayim, okay? Or Yerushalom, as some people like, okay? All right. Now let's go back in. So that was Judges 19 and 10, okay? Now back to, so it was originally called Jebus by the Jebusites. And it said Malak Sadak or Shem, now we know, was the priest and king. These nations revolted after the days of Shem, when Shem died, right? Those Canaanites, they raised up another king who was named after Adoni-Sedek, and he was a Canaanite. That's the Canaanite Adoni-Sedek, okay? That's the second one, right? All right. And where did you start reading that? The red?
I believe so.
Okay, start right there.
As did also the posterity of Ismael, Esau, Moab, Ammon, and that of Abraham by Keturah, and the Israelites.
Right. So what he's saying is, he's saying after Shem, Melchizedek died, Ishmael, Esau, Moab, Ammon, and Abraham's children, the sons of Keturah, they all started worshiping false deities. Right? So that's why when you go into interior Africa, you do see some African countries with false deities. Okay? Some of those African nations are Abraham's seed. Okay? We're going to show that to you. All right. So let's continue. All right, go ahead.
Themselves were very apt to revolt, and one reason why Terah went from Ur of the Chaldees to Haran in his way to the land of Canaan, and why Abraham afterward left Haran and went into the land of Canaan, might be to avoid the worship of false deities, which in their days began in Chaldea and spread every way from thence, but did not yet reach into the land of Canaan.
At that time. See, that's what he's saying. So Canaan land, or the land that the Most High chose for his people, wasn't corrupted at that time, at that segment yet. Okay, go ahead.
The precepts of the sons of Noah, this was the religion of Shemaiah and the prophets, comprehended in the two greatest commandments of loving Yah with all our heart and soul and mind, and our neighbors as ourselves. This was the religion enjoined by Shemaiah to the uncircumcised stranger within the gates of Israel, as well as to the Israelites. And this is the primitive religion of both the Hebrews and Christians, and ought to be the standing religion of all nations, it being for the honor of Yah and good of mankind.
Woo! Huh? You hear what Sir Isaac said?
Should be the standing.
He said everybody should be doing this because in other words, let me give you a little revelation. He's saying, right, that before Moses got it, right? Okay, let's read the next line. It's going to explain what I'm getting ready to say. All right, good. The law.
This law was ancient than the days of Shemaiah, being given to Noah and his sons long before the days of Abraham.
All right, so read it again and hold on to that long.
This law was ancient that the days of Shemaiah, being given to Noah and his sons long before the days of Abraham, and therefore when the apostles and elders in the council at Jerusalem declared that the Gentiles were not obliged to be circumcised and keep the laws of Shemaiah, They accepted this law of abstaining from blood and things strangled as being an earlier law of Yah, imposed not on the sons of Abraham only, but on all nations. While they lived together in Shinar under the dominion of Noah, and of the same kind is the law of abstaining from meats offered to idols or false deities, and from fornication. So then, the believing that the world was framed by one supreme Elohim and is governed by him, and the loving and worshiping him and honoring our parents and loving our neighbors as ourselves and being merciful even to brute beasts is the oldest of all religions.
So in other words, he kind of threw a Mickey in the drink later on, but he made a statement, but then he kind of backpedaled a little bit by saying that we weren't required to keep the laws of Moses. But he kind of contradicted himself, didn't he? Because if the law was more ancient than Moses, and what were they doing back then? Walking in the statutes and commandments of the Most High, right? They were offering, and Noah offered a sacrifice when he came out of the ark. So sacrifices was not something that started with Moses, right? So he kind of backpedaled on that. All right. Now, moving forward. So this is going to lead us to Abraham's children. So we're going to start right here. I'm going to expedite some reading. I'm going to eliminate some reading rather. So let's see. I want to start here in the book of Jasher, page 86, chapter what is it, 9? So the book of Jubilees. I said Jasher, book of Jubilees. And now remember, Abraham father was into idolatry and paganism. So we're going to read just a little bit of that, and then we're going to get to the sons, because Abraham, when he died, he taught his sons, including the Africans, the laws and of circumcision and the laws of Yah. All right. So let's see. Start at verse. Let's see. Where's one at? Okay, this is the beginning. Let's start right here. And it came to pass.
And it came to pass in the 6th week, in the 7th year thereof, that Abram said to Terah his father, saying, Father. And he said, Behold, here am I, my son. And he said, What help and profit have we from these idols which thou dost worship, and before which thou dost bow thyself?
Right. So he had a problem. Remember, we talked about a week before, or 2 weeks ago, where when Terah was the son of who? He was the son of Shem, right? And he did not want. Okay, I'm getting my stories mixed up, but Terah didn't want to be obedient to the laws of Yah, right? So, okay, just cancel it. I had a thought, but it kind of, like I said, I've been working on my book, so a couple thoughts went through my head there. Just kind of scratch that. It'll come back to me what I was trying to say. All right. Okay, so in other words, Terah, right? I tell you what, I'll do it this way. That way, I'll bring my thought back in. Okay, so let's go to Table Nations. Okay, and this will help me. This will help me to bring my thought back where I was trying to go. Okay, so Genesis. So let's see, Genesis 10, and we know that Shem begat what? Shem begat Elam, Asher, Arphaxad, Lud, and Aram. And Aram begat Eber. Okay, so here's the thing. Shem, right? We're going to see in a few minutes, taught Eber, right? And Eber had two sons, Peleg and Joktan, right? So you go down. Okay. We got.
You go for verse 26, Joktan begot, or something else.
I was looking for Nahor and Terah. Okay. All right. You know what? Never mind. I got too much going on. Too much. Let me stick with the last. I got too much going on in my head. Okay. Got the book in one side of my brain and this lesson in the other side of my brain. Okay. So that's in my other notes. Okay. All right. So I want to skip, right? Because I want to get to the meat. Okay. So let's go to chapter 2 and verse 2. Chapter 2. So we're going to go to chapter, that's not chapter 12. Okay. In the book of Jasher, chapter 12. So we're going to, what page did I say that was on? That's on page 91. Wait a minute. Getting it mixed up here.
That was page 91.
I was on 91, right? Okay, 86. What was it? 86. Okay, I must have missed something that I wanted to read. Okay, no. Okay, skip past all that. Okay, okay, this is what I wanted to read right here. Did we read it last week? Okay, all right. All right. Okay. Sorry, guys. See, that's what happens when you're not full time, right? You got a lot going on, so charge to my head, not to my heart. Okay, now see, what is it? Okay, I want Jubilees 12. That's where I want to be at now. 12, right? And 26. So let's go to 12, right? Chapter 12. Before I get there, okay, let's see. Let's just keep reading a little bit of that. All right. That'll take me to where I'm going. Okay, start right there, verse 3.
For there is no spirit in them, for they are dumb forms and a misleading of the heart. Worship them not. Worship the Elohim of heaven, who causes the rain and the dew to descend on the earth, and does everything upon the earth, and has created everything by his word, and all life is from before his face. Why do ye worship things that have no spirit in them? For they are the work of men's hands, and on your shoulders do you bear them, and ye have no help from them. But they are a great cause of shame to those who make them, and a misleading of the heart to those who worship them. Worship them not. And his father said unto him, I also know it, my son, but what shall I do with a people who have made me to serve before them? And if I tell them the truth, they will slay me, for their soul cleaves to them to worship them and to honor them. Keep silent, my son, lest they slay thee. And these words he spake to his two brothers, and they were angry with him, and he kept silent. And in the 40th Jubilee, in the second week, in the 7th year thereof, Abraham took to him a wife, and her name was Sarai, the daughter of his father, and she became his wife. And Haran his brother took to himself a wife in the 3rd year of the 3rd week, and she bare him a son in the 7th year of this week. and he called his name Lot. And Nahor his brother took to himself a wife, and in the 60th year of the life of Abram, that is, in the fourth week, in the fourth year thereof, Abram arose by night and burned the house of the idols, and he burned all that was in the house, and no man knew it. And they arose in the night and sought to save their deities from the midst of the fire. And Haran hasted to save them, but the fire flamed over him, and he was burnt in the fire, and he died in Ur of the Chaldees before Terah his father.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. So Terah, he knew the truth, but he was worried, just like today, of the people, how the people would react to it.
Right, exactly.
He would lose his following.
Right, right. His money, because he was
sold those idols and stuff. Didn't he make the idols and sell them and stuff?
Yeah.
Just like today's pastors.
Right. He was making money, so he'd rather choose making money than be a teacher of righteousness. Right. I mean, if you living to live large, it's hard. It's hard to turn down dirty money, right? It's hard, but you have to be, as the old mother you say, you have to be fixated in your mind.
Yeah. So it wasn't about ministry; it was about business.
Right. Okay, go ahead. You left off with 19.
Let me see. Right here.
Okay.
And they buried him in Ur of the Chaldees, and Terah went forth from Ur of the Chaldees, he and his sons, to go into the land of Lebanon and into the land of Canaan. And he dwelt in the land of Haran, and Abram dwelt with Terah his father in Haran 2 weeks of years. And in the 6th week, in the 5th year thereof, Abram sat up throughout the night on the new moon of the 7th month to observe the stars from the evening to the morning, in order to see what would be the character of the year in regards, or with regards to the rains. And he was alone as he sat and observed. And a word came into his heart, and he said, all the signs of the stars and the signs of the moon and of the sun are all in the hand of Yah. Why do I search them out? If he desires, he causes it to rain morning and evening. And if he desires, he withholds it. And all things are in his hand. And he prayed that night and said, my Yah, most high, thou alone art my Elohim, and thee and thy dominion have I chosen, and thou hast created all things,
Right.
and all things that are the work of thy hands. Deliver me from the hands of evil spirits that who have sway over the thoughts of men's hearts, and let them not lead me astray from thee, my Yah. To establish thou me and my seed forever, that we go not astray from henceforth and forevermore. And he said, shall I return unto Ur of the Chaldees, who seek my face, that I may return to them? Or am I to remain here in this place? The right path before thee, prosper it in the hands of thy servant, that he may fulfill it, and that I may not walk in the deceitfulness of my heart, O my Yah. And he made an end of speaking and praying, and behold, the word of Yah was sent to him through me, saying, get thee up from thy country, and from thy kindred, and from the house of thy father, unto a land which I will show thee, and I shall make thee a great and numerous nation.
Right.
And I shall bless thee, and I shall make thy name great,
Right.
and thou wilt be blessed in the earth, and in thee will all families of the earth be blessed. And I shall bless them that bless thee, and curse them that curse thee. And I shall be a Elohim to thee and thy son, and to thy son's son, and to all thy seed. Fear not, from henceforth and unto all generations of the earth, I am thy Elohim. And Yahuwah said, open his mouth and his ears, that he may hear and speak with his mouth with the language which has been revealed. For it had ceased from the mouths of all the children of men from the day of the overthrow of Babel. And I opened his mouth and his ears and his lips, and I began to speak with him in Hebrew, in the tongue of creation.
Wow.
And he took the books of his fathers, and these were written in Hebrew.
Watch out now.
And he transcribed them, and he began from henceforth to study them. And I made known to him that which he could not understand. And he studied them during the 6 rainy months. And it came to pass in the 7th year of the 6th week that he spoke to his father and informed him that he would leave Haran to go into the land of Canaan to see it and return to him. And Terah his father said unto him, Go in peace.
So now, let's recap. So when they say Abraham in the King James, when it says Abraham told him to go from his kindred, right? If you didn't know that his father was a pagan idol, idolatrous worshiper, you wouldn't know why the Most High told him to leave, would you? From just reading King James, right?
Exactly. And that was the beginning of me being called out, and I didn't understand it when I went to the scripture to read it.
Right. So now we can see that's why he was called out, because he rejected all the paganism, just like you said, of his family. Right? So that's why we are the only ones in our family that's not pagans. Right? Because they are not able to handle the truth. I won't say they don't want the truth. Maybe they do want it, they're afraid of it. You know?
It's going to cost you something. People are not ready to be set apart and isolated from people that they love.
And we bite into every little thing that the oppressors... See, the slave master gave you all this pagan festivities.
Yeah, and they flesh love it. They flesh loves it.
We embrace the gods of wood and stone, right? That's why we can't let it go, because it's built into our system. It's like the Santa Claus scenario, right? Some people still believe Santa Claus is real at a grown age. Something about you ever see some grown people want to go sit on Santa Claus' lap still? It really hasn't set in their mind that Santa Claus is a fable.
That's mental illness.
I saw some adult women, posting pictures up on Facebook, right? Sitting on Santa's lap, fantasizing. I said, man, we got it bad. So Abraham was called out from his family. And notice what he said, right? Let me back up here, because I said some good stuff. I want to see the comments of the people, but before I do that, I want to back up. Okay, now, Abraham, when he sought the Most High, he prayed, right? He already knew his father had a problem with him. So he told his father that he was going, he said, I'm going to the land of Canaan. I go to the land of Canaan to see it and return to him. He wasn't going to Canaan. He wasn't going to Canaan to come back to that paganism. I believe that he knew that Shem was there, righteous king, because when a person has a reputation, right? Shem had a reputation, king of righteousness. He knew that. So I want to be in the land where the people are serving Yah, where they're morally right? They're not full of all kinds of wickedness, right? They are full of prosperity of Yah, right? They're not operating in beneath their privileges, right?
Yeah, you want to be around like-minded people.
They're not oppressed by the system, under systematic oppression. So now, so he prayed, right? Now, the point I want to bring in here is that he says in this verse here, 25, Yah said, open his mouth and his ears that he may hear and speak. Underline that, hear and speak. That he may hear and speak with his mouth, with the language which has been revealed. Right? So, if the thing of it is that I'm gonna step in the hole right quick. If you say you are speaking in tongues, right? There's your tongue right there. That language should bring you back to the language of creation. So he said, open his ears and his mouth, right? That he may speak with his mouth the language which has been revealed, for it has ceased from the mouths of the children of men. The children of men spoke that language from the day of the overthrow of Babel. Right? So that's it. That's a revelation right there. So when we go back to the language of creation, it pulls us back to serving the Most High. Because in Babel, what did they do? They want to make a name, right? So they created an icon to worship. And as a result of that, right, when the Most High divided their languages, each one went to their own land with the same deity with a different name in their culture. So when you say God has many names, the God that they worship in Babel has many names, because when he divided the tongues, they went to their lands with that deity with names that matches the culture. I don't like
all the gods of the nations are idols.
There you go. Same people. So he opened his mouth and he would speak with the language of creation. And he said, and I opened his mouth and his ears and his lips. And I began to speak with him in Hebrew, the tongue of the creation. So all these people say, well, that's his Hebrew name. Why don't you call him by his Hebrew name, since you know that, right? Be like Abraham. Bear to be different, right? Don't be like Jesus, Yahshua, Yahweh. Look, stop all of that foolishness. You playing safe, right? You teachers been teaching us too long to be returning people back to the vomit. Mm-hmm. And it's interesting to me to see some of the most scholarly teachers, but when it comes to the name, they fall into that ditch. It's sad, right? So then he took the books. This is Abraham's righteousness. He took the books of his fathers, and these were written in Hebrew. He transcribed them, and he began from there to study them. And I made known to him that which he could not comprehend, and he studied them during the 6 rainy months. Okay, did you read verse 28? Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. Okay, so now let's continue. Okay. Hold on. Okay, start right here, chapter 13.
And Abram journeyed from Haran, and he took his wife Sarah, his wife, and Lot, his brother, Haran's son, to the land of Canaan, and he came into Asher, and proceeded to Shechem, and dwelt near a lofty oak. And he saw, and behold, the land was very pleasant from the entering of Hamath to the lofty oak. And Yah said to him, to thee and to thy seed will I give this land. And he built an altar there, and he offered thereon a burnt sacrifice to Yah, who had appeared to him. And he removed from thence unto the mountain, Bethel on the west, and Ai on the east, and pitched his tent there. And he saw, and behold, the land was very wide and good, and everything grew thereon, vines and figs and pomegranates, oaks and alexis and terebinths and oil trees and cedars and cypresses and date trees and all trees of the field. And there was water on the mountains. And he blessed Yah, who had led him out of Ur of the Chaldees, and had brought him to this land.
Okay, pause there for a second. I did say I wanted to look at some of the comments, so let's see. Let's go back in here. All right. Oh, so much is going on here. Y'all wait, we just getting our feet wet. We haven't even got started yet. This is preliminary. Let's see. Esau is let me see. Yeah, got a whole lot going on here. All right, anything relevant? Did you see anything relevant to the subject that we talking about?
Yeah, a lot of it was, but I feel like a lot of it was answered if he was listening, especially when you went to the Table of Nations.
Okay. Peace. Okay, I tell you what.
Too, you're saying that Hebrew was the language of creation. That should be another hint.
Okay, so hang around. Okay, I want to get to the meat. So we'll look at these comments at the end. Okay, to see if everything was hit or not. Okay.
He's associating red with
But yeah. So what's the gist he's saying?
We're not the people.
Oh, we're not the people.
Basically, Abraham wasn't who we're saying he is. He was what? What did he say? Urkish or something. He said when Adam was created, another people were created, and blah blah blah.
So where's your receipts at on that? Because people talk a lot of talk. Where's your receipts, right? We showing you receipts, right? Okay, now, so what we're gonna do is, since our brother wants to go there, I'm gonna skip down to where Abraham teaches his sons, right? So let's see. Let's go to Jubilees 17. Hold on a second. Let me see. Make sure I'm right. Okay, we're gonna go right here to this is Joshua 26. Okay, so Abraham, we're gonna show you something. I'm gonna skip a lot of reading because I was gonna do some reading, but let's get straight to the chase. Cut to the chase. All right. So we're gonna start right. Let's say this was chapter 26. This is at the time of Abraham's death, right? Okay. This is. Hold on a second. That's in chapter 26. Actually, this is the book of Jasher. Okay, let's go to the book of Jasher. Okay, 26. Okay. 26. It's okay, Gentiles screaming and hollering because they've been on top for the past 2,000 years. The jig is up. Sorry to bust your bubble and to hurt you.
I was just thinking of that same thing.
To hurt your feelings, but y'all been on the top.
Gentiles is coming to an end.
Times of the Gentiles coming to an end, brother. Suck it up. Jump on board. Embrace the people who Yah has called, who've been suffering for the past 2,000 years. And get on the right side of history, right? Okay, let's see now. In the 50th ninth month of the life of Isaac. Let's see, is that what I want? It starts up in the 42nd Jubilee. This must be Jubilees. Let's see. Hold on a second. I got my notes everywhere. Okay, let me see. Abraham called Ishmael. Let's do that there. I think it's Jubilees. Oh, here we go. Got it. Okay, got it. We're gonna start right here. And the 42nd Jubilee. All right. So let
You're gonna learn today.
all right, you're gonna learn something, whoever that was. Okay. All right, start right here.
And in the 42nd Jubilee, in the first year of the 7th week, Abraham called Ishmael and his 12 sons, and Isaac and his 2 sons, and the 6 sons of Keturah and their sons. And he commanded them that they should observe the way of Yah, that they should work righteousness and love each his neighbor, and act on this manner amongst all men, that they should each so walk with regard to them as to do judgment and righteousness on the earth, that they should circumcise their sons according to the covenant which he had made with them, and not deviate to the right hand or the left, or of all the paths which Yah had commanded us, and that we should keep ourselves from all fornication and uncleanness, and to renounce from amongst us all fornication and uncleanness. And if any woman or maid commit fornication amongst you, burn her with fire, and let them not commit fornication with her after their eyes and their heart. And let them not take themselves wives from the daughters of Canaan, for the seed of Canaan will be rooted out of the land. And he told them of the judgment of the giants and the judgment of the Sodomites, how they had been judged on account of their wickedness, and had died on account of their fornication and uncleanness and mutual corruption through fornication. And guard yourselves from all fornication and uncleanness, and from all pollution of sin, lest ye make our name a curse, and your whole life a hissing, and all your sons to be destroyed by the sword, and ye become a curse like Sodom, and all your remnant as the sons of Gomorrah.
That's good. Oh, read the next verse.
And I implore you, my sons, love Yah, the Elohim of heaven, and cleave ye to all his commandments, and walk not after their idols and after their uncleannesses, and make not for yourselves molten or graven deities, for they are vanity, and there is no spirit in them. For they are the work of men's hands, and all who trust in them trust in nothing. Serve them not, nor worship them, but serve ye the Most High Yah, and worship him continually.
Right, very good. So now, for the poorly educated or uneducated who think that we don't know what the hell we talking about, right? Let's break it down for you, whoever that person was. Do you remember the person's name?
Hopeful soul.
Hopeful soul. Okay, hopeful soul. We you got a lot of hopes. We're gonna give you some answers since you're hopeful, right? Okay, now Zondervan and all scholars say that Ham is the father of the dark races of people. Am I right about it?
Mm-hmm.
And let me get Gene over here.
Am I right? That's right.
Okay. So I'm gonna break this Africa down for you in a minute, but I gotta go to the book on you. Since you played yourself, you didn't play your cards right. So if Ham is the father of the Africans, as you, I'm sure, hopeful soul, believe was taught in your Sunday school class, that Ham is the father of the African nations. And I just showed you that Cush, right, is the son of Ham, who Cush, according to another reference, I'll give you, I quote it, and I'll give you the reference. You can look it up yourself. It's the Jew, a Negro. That's the title of the book. He says that Abraham's mother was the daughter of Nimrod, who was a Hamite, and he says, therefore, by default, Abraham was a Negro. Okay. If that be the case, and it is, Ham, one drop of black blood in America makes a person black. Brother Hopeful Soul. Okay. You the ones that started that. You Gentiles are the ones that started that. We didn't start that. So his mother, right, was a Hamite, African, right? Now, Abraham gave birth to Ishmael by Hagar, who was an Egyptian. Egyptians, I don't care what the modern people try to say, they want to make the Egyptians European or olive skin looking. You can't have it both ways. Either Ham is the father of dark races of people or he's not. If Ham is the father of the dark races of people, that would make the Egyptians dark races, right? So Abraham had Ishmael through Hagar, and he married an Egyptian and sojourned in Egypt with his family. Going forward, Isaac came on the scene. Isaac is the son of, Isaac is the son of Abraham, who was half Negro and half Shemite. So what does that make Isaac? Isaac is Negro and Shemite, right? Hamito Shemeto. So then he gives birth to, Isaac gives birth to Jacob, Jacob, and Esau. Okay? Now, Esau marries Canaanite, who are what? Descendants of Ham. Esau marries the Canaanite woman who gives him children, who gives him sons and daughters who rule in the black land of Canaan before they pushed out the land and went and settled in their own land called Idumea, right? Jacob, 12 sons. Judah, they all lived amongst the Canaanites, right? And they ended up marrying Canaanite women. And Canaan is the son of Ham, right? Ham's the father of the dark races of people. Canaan are the ones that Judah married. And in the line of Judah is where you get the Messiah, who the world incorrectly calls Jesus. Okay? So you got Shemitic, Hamitic bloodline through the Messiah, right? Now, to top it off, Joseph, one of the 12 tribes, married the Egyptian Hamite, black daughter of the priest of On, gave him Ephraim and Manasseh, right? Hamite, Shemite still. And then last but not least, Israel, the land of Israel that became known as, it was originally called the Jebusite land and the Canaanite land. For the record, let's go back into Genesis, table nation, Genesis chapter 10. All right. It says, I want to get to the Canaanite. So So we see Ham, right? Ham begat Cush, verse 7. Mizraim, Foot, and Canaan. This is where we're going right here. Canaan, right? So Canaan begat Sidon or Sidonians, Heth, which is your Hittites, Jebusite, that's where Canaan is, Amorites, Gergesites, Hivites, Archites, Sinites, Arvadites, Zemarites, Hamathites, and all that didn't get named here, he said the families of the Canaanites. So you lump them all together. Okay? Their border of the Canaanites was from Sidon unto the Gaza Strip. Y'all ain't gonna talk to me. As you go to Sodom and Gomorrah, Admah, Zeboim, and Talasha, right? These are the sons of Ham in their tongues. Now, I'm about to ready to drop you in a hole now. Let's go to Judges chapter 3, right? This is the nail in the coffin. Okay? In case anybody has any doubts in your mind, if if they wasn't solidly Negro prior to this point, especially after coming out of Egypt with a mixed multitude. Not that I left that out on purpose, but you know, Exodus 12, I think it is, it said Israel left out a mixed multitude, right? So in addition to that, brother, hopeful soul, the Canaanites and Israelites became one people. Let's go look at it. Go to Judges 3, right? You want to read?
Starting where?
Mm-hmm.
Now these are the nations which Yah left to prove Israel by them, even as many as of Israel as had not known all the wars of Canaan, only that the generations of the children of Israel might know to teach them war, at the least such as before knew nothing thereof, namely 5 masters of the Philistines, and all the Canaanites, and the Sidonians, and the Hivites, that dwelt in Mount Lebanon, from Mount Baal Hermon unto the entering of Hamath.
Right.
And they were to prove Israel by them, to know whether they would hearken unto the commandments of Yah, which he commanded their fathers by the hand of Shemaiah.
Right.
And the children of Israel dwelt among the Canaanites, the Hittites, the Amorites, and Perizzites, and Hivites, and Jebusites.
Oh, now read that again.
And the children of Israel dwelt among the Canaanites.
Stop. Canaanites. Go ahead.
Hittites. Amorites. Perizzites.
Hivites.
And Jebusites.
And the Jebusites, right? Now, what did they do with those Canaanites, those blacker than black people? All right, let's read the next verse.
And they took their daughters to be their wives, and gave their daughters to their sons, and served their deities.
Right, there you go. So now, you can't have it both ways. Okay. Because the question I would ask to the haters that want to say, oh, the Canaanites, they weren't black. So please tell me, which one of the sons did the black people come from? I guess you must be smarter than Zondervan and all the other scholars that say that Ham was the father of the dark races of people. You guess you smarter than Herodotus, who said that the Egyptians had big lips and woolly hair. I guess you smarter than Philo, and I guess you smarter than Josephus and all the other scholars, and you smarter than some other scholar we're going to read in a few minutes. It's going to debunk all of that nonsense, right? Right? So anyway, okay. Now, for those of you that stick with the class, let's get back. Okay, we'll deal with that. We'll deal with that after we get to this. Cause I got receipts. I got receipts. All right. Now, so let me go back to my notes. Go back to my notes, and let's see. So let me just recap. So Abraham, as we read, Abraham blessed his sons, right? He blessed his sons, all of them. Told them to keep the law, statutes. He told them all. Esau, right? Ishmael, right? All of the sons that came through Keturah, the grandson. He told them all, right? Taught them, right? Now, so we read that. Now we're going to go to Leo, right? Leo Africanus. All right. Okay, let's do this real quick here. I hadn't planned on doing this. But Leo Africanus. Okay. This is Leo Africanus. Where did he go? There we go. Okay. There's Leo Africanus. And Leo was a Moor. I think I had him looking like Abraham Lincoln. But here's what he looked like right here. This one here. Okay. So now, Leo Africanus had this to say. All right. All right, read this line right here.
Others say that it is called Africa, quasi-Africa, that is exposed and subject to the scorching beams of the sun, the most part thereof lying between the tropics. Josephus will have it so called from Aphor, one of the posterity of Abraham, and others from Aphor, son of Hercules of Libya, but it was by the Greeks called Libya because it, why Africa was called, was in old time conquered by Libs, the king of Mauritania, Libya. In the Holy Scriptures, it is called Camesis by the Arabians and Ethiopians, Alkebulon, and by the Indians, Baseka.
Okay. So, Leo Africanus says it was called Africa by one of the posterity of Abraham. Right? So, I have a footnote here. So, let's go to Genesis 25 and 4. Okay? Genesis 25 and 4. Okay. Start right here at verse 1.
Then again, Abraham took a wife, and her name was Keturah.
Right.
And she bare him Zimran and Jokshan and Medan and Midian and Ishbak and Shua. And Jokshan begat Sheba and Dedan. And the sons of Dedan were Asherim and Latushim and Luamim. And the sons of Midian, Ephah and Epher and Hanok and Abida and Eldah. And these were the children of Keturah.
Right.
And Abraham gave all that he had unto Isaac.
That's good. So the point I wanted to pull out was here, right? So the sons of Midian were Ephraim and Epher. So Leo Africanus says that Africa was named after him. What we just read, right? He said it was named after Wait, lost my place here. Okay. It said it was named after the posterity of Abraham, Aphor, right? Okay, my next note says, okay, so that the quote here that I read from Leo Africanus is in his book called History and Description of Africa, Volume 1, produced in 1526, page 13. Okay, I'm not going to pull it out, but if you're interested in getting into your homework, all right? Now, what did Josephus say? Okay, so we're going to read from Josephus, and this is in the complete works of Josephus. This is a quote. I'm not going to pull up the book, okay? All right, where it says Josephus here.
Mm-hmm. Abraham by Keturah, nay, he names three of them, Aphor and Surim and Yaphran, that from Surim was the land of Assyria denominated, and that from the other two, Aphor and Yaphran, the country of Africa took its name.
Okay, read that again.
And from the other two, Aphor and Yaphran, the country of Africa took its name, because these men were auxiliaries to Hercules when he fought against Libya and Antiochus, and that Hercules married Aphra's daughter, and of her he begat a son, Diodorus, and that Sophon was his son, from whom that barbarous people called Sophossians were denominated. Sophossians.
So there you go. So he says what? That Aphor, right? The country Africa took his name by, this is Abraham's grandson, all right? Now, let's go to, what is this here? I have another source here. This is Africa being an accurate description. Let's read this one here regarding the African sons of Abraham.
Many Hebrews also were scattered over this region, some natives boasting themselves of Abraham's seed, inhabiting both sides of the river Niger. Others are Asian strangers who fled thither either from the desolation of Jerusalem by Vespasian, or from Judea wasted and depopulated by the Romans, Persians, Saracens, and Christians.
Okay, that's good. We don't have to read the rest of that. Okay, so this is John Ogilvie saying. John Ogilvie wrote in 1690, he says, in Africa, he calls them Jews who are scattered over the regions, boasting themselves of Abraham's seed. So, if Abraham's children populated Africa, they were Shemitic, right? They, in turn, according to Leo Africanus and according to John Ogilvie, who was a European scholar, said that they, right, said they were Abraham's seed. Okay? Were they lying? Were they making things up? Or are you in denial? Right? I don't have that one there. You in denial, girl. You in denial, right? So here's another scholar saying it. Okay, now what I want to do is,
Yeah, the sources are not credible.
huh?
He's saying basically using Josephus as a source.
Well, hey, y'all taught us how to use sources, and now you want us to throw the sources out, huh?
Yeah, and where is his information coming from?
Right. When I was in school, we had to write. They taught us how to write. And you had to quote and tell what your source was. So these are people that are older than us. They know more than we know. So what did they have to lie about, right?
And plus, we're connecting it with Genesis 10,
Right.
other verses in the Bible.
Right. That's correct. It's okay. You can be ahead all day long, but the sources don't change. The source is going to be there. So you might just hate it and frustrated because it's coming out. But guess what? Israel awakening to the covenant is a benefit to you if you want to embrace it. You say you're a Christian, you ought to be glad to see the children of Israel wakening up. Ezekiel 37. You should be happy about that, not angry, right? And we're going to say some stuff about circumcision, right? Okay. We're going to read from another source. I got so many sources here. This is John Abbott. Okay. History of the children circumcised, right? Okay. So read this one right here. This is the reference is John Barbet, description of the coast of North and South Guinea, produced in 1788, right? And this is on page 404. Okay.
Many lost tribes went to Europe.
Huh?
Well, I'm just reading.
Okay, go ahead.
The children are not circumcised anywhere on the Gold Coast but Accra.
Mm-hmm.
But whence the custom of holding women unclean and circumcising of children should be derived from, I cannot tell. To carry it up as high as the Judaic times seems to me too far, though several Europeans favor this assertion, urging that the Negroes still retain several laws and customs which favor of Judaism, and that last mentioned, the honoring of the moon at the time when the Hebrews begin their festival, the marrying of their brother's wife, and several more, which seem the same in effect, as well as the names of which here are several which occur in the Old Testament.
Right. So that's what 23 is. A new and accurate description of the coast of Guinea by William Bosman, translated in 1705. So he says again, let me amplify that. He says, circumcision, children are not circumcised anywhere in the Gold Coast but in Accra. That's Ghana, right? Accra, that's Ghana, right? But whence or where did he say the customs of holding women unclean and circumcising of children? Right. So now, let me ask you a question. Most of us don't know, even when we came into this part of the world, where did the custom of circumcising the children come from? Right? I think it was Herodotus who says that it was a practice. We can read some stuff in a minute. I got a whole lot of receipts here. Okay. So circumcision was not a common practice of Europeans. Okay. Circumcision was a practice of the sons of the covenant. It was passed down through the sons, right? Okay. Abraham taught his sons, right? Now, let's go back in here. It didn't start with Moses. It says, so where did the custom come from? Okay. Several Europeans favored the assertion, urging that Negroes still retain their laws and customs which favor Judaism, as that last mentioned. Okay. So where did it come from, brothers and sisters? Okay, here's another quote. This is the slave coast. This is same book. Okay, read this part right here.
The circumcision of infants, especially the males, is here customary. But if they be asked whence this custom was deducted or deduced, they readily answer that it was traditionally handed to them by their ancestors, and they at present neither know the reason nor signification. I have just hinted that the male infants were circumcised, in which you will perhaps think I am in the right, since that custom is scarce practicable in the other sex. But I can assure you, sir, that some girls are here liable as well as the boys.
So he's saying the girls are circumcised too. All right. So not only were the males circumcised, but the girls were circumcised, right?
Mm.
He said,
Some
circumcising.
girls.
It said it was customary. Circumcising was customary. But if they be asked whether the custom was deduced or where did it come from, they readily answer that it was traditionally handed to them by their ancestors, right? So who was the ancestor that taught them circumcision? We just read it. It was Abraham. He taught his African sons circumcision. But you got a problem with that. It hurts you in your heart because the truth is coming out. It's coming out. Like the brother said, bring it out. You mad as hell right now because a truth is slapping you in the face. You've been lied to. Jeremiah 16:19 project. Right?
Mm-hmm. Look at the next line. It says, the slave coast is the kingdom of Judah.
Right.
Where they stole us from.
Now.
Library of Congress.
Right.
Negro land.
Now, we're going to show you a map. Brother Hopeful Soul. We're going to show you a map. We're going to show you the Negro land map. Okay? The slave coast is where we just read, right? We just read about the circumcision being in, it says, the slave coast. That's what Mr. Bossman told us, right? That they said it was traditionally handed down to them, right? Okay? Let's try this again. For some reason or another. I might have too many tabs open. I don't know. Sometimes these computers. I don't know why it's freezing on
Now
here.
we're being accused of stealing people's history.
Huh?
We're being accused of stealing people's history. Who's whitewashed and stolen more history?
Tell them, go somewhere. Stop crying. Stop whining. Stop being insensitive. Stop being a sensitive emotional wreck. Stop being a sensitive emotional. Here we go. We're gonna make you even more madder, right? Okay. Let's pull it up. So now, you're gonna like this, Hopeful Soul. This is a map from the government. Let me set you up here. This is your government. The MAGA government. Make America great again. This is your government. Posted this on the government Library of Congress website. Okay. Here it says this is a new and accurate map. Well, go ahead, read that for me. Go ahead.
A new and accurate map of Negro land and the adjacent countries, also Upper Guinea, showing the principal European settlements and distinguishing that which belonged to England, Denmark, Holland, the sea of the rivers being drawn from surveys and the best modern maps and charts and regulated by Astron.
Right. So now when we look at this map, we see here, this is the Negro land map. Let's bring it full screen. Now, he said the practice of circumcision came from right here. See where my mouse is? The slave coast. the slave coast is called the Kingdom of Judah, right? Upper or Proper Guinea, right? It says Kingdom of Judah or Ouida, slave coast, right? Ouida, Judah F, I think. Okay. So, let's zoom it in just so you can see. Make the devil mad.
Is that Yabusi? Jabu?
Yep. So that's it right there. You have the Kingdom of Ashanti over here, right? Kingdom of Canis, Jabu, Udoba, right? Kingdom of Asago, Kingdom of Ukuma, right? Now, so that is where he said that they took the so-called slaves from the slave coast and brought them into America. These practiced circumcision that they learned. He said that it was a tradition from their ancestors, right? So, who's stealing whose history? Right? So I got more. Let's go. I got more. He said he must be part of British Israelism. He's part of British Israelism. See, British Israelism is an Israelitism, is what it is. Israelite. Okay. I could pull out one of your scholars. His name Dalton Boyd, I think his name. He tells the truth about the original Europeans being black before the whites came and pushed them out. But that's a whole nother lesson. You ain't ready for me. All right. That's gonna be in my book. I'm not gonna dig into the archive. Okay, let's go back to the receipts here. All right. So the slave coast is the Kingdom of Yehuda, where they stole us from, the Library of Congress Negro Land map. We just pulled it up. Okay. All right, start right here. It was discovered.
It was discovered about the year 1471 that the extraordinary fertility of its soil moved the Portuguese to settle a colony of their nation on it for the convenience of their people trading to Guinea. Though the climate is very unwholesome, an abundance of men died before it was well settled and cultivated. Violent fevers and colic snatching them away soon after they were set ashore. A few years after, such of those Hebrews as had escaped the malignant air were forced away to the Isle of Saint Thome. There married to black women fetched from Angola in great numbers, with nearly 3,000 men of the same country. From those Hebrews married to black women, in process of time proceeded mostly that brood of mulattoes at this day inhabiting the island. Most of them boast of being descended from Portuguese, and their constitution is by nature much fitter to bear with the malignity of that air. The Hebrews, who in great numbers lived in Castile, seeing themselves condemned to the flames by the Erling of the Inquisition in that country, swarmed into Portugal. King John II of the name, surnamed the Perfect and the Great, first entertained them, but afterwards, being sensible of their wicked practices, for that pretending to be Christians, they ceased not to Judaize, he sent out his officers, who burnt some, chastised others, and filled all the prisons with them. This made many of them flee to Africa, where they openly professed themselves Hebrews, whereupon the king forbade any more passing over thither upon pain of death, giving them liberty at the same time to remove to any Christian country. Thus we find that Abraham was the father of many nations through Ishmael, He was the progenitor of the nations of Arabia through the sons of Keturah, of the inhabitants of the troglodytes of Africa. Through Isaac he possessed Canaan, and the whole testimony of history proves these nations colored. The influence of Judaism on Africa is greater and farther diffused than that of the Hebrews and their geographical extension. If we take, for instance, the race under consideration, I will go still further and assert that the more we study them in all their various relationships, the more shall we be convinced that they form a portion of those lost tribes who disobeyed the command of Yah and were dispersed, but are now mingled with the original inhabitants of the country, and so degenerate in the form in which they now appear.
Okay, stop for a second. All right, man. So let's see. This was a quote from John Barbet, Description of the Coast of North and South Guinea. So in his book, he's talking about how they made the Hebrews flee to Africa from Portugal, right? And he said they were openly professed themselves to be Hebrews, whereupon the king forbid any more passing over there upon the pain of death, giving them liberty at the same time, remove to any Christian country. So in other words, I'm gonna highlight this here. So in other words, they were forced to convert to Christianity, to forsake the covenant that the Most High gave them, passed down to them from their father Abraham. They were forced to convert to Christianity. Now, if you look at the ancestral DNA, a lot of us, we had that Portuguese DNA connection. I know I got some, right? So you talking about connecting science with history and prophecy. It all syncs up, right? The thing of it is that for the British Israelism, which what's the book called, the Guide to Understanding the Bible and the Keys to Heaven. I think it's called the little book, Keys to Heaven. That's where you get that is British Israelism doctrine from, right? But the Israelites, the Europeans never was taking the slave ships to the four corners. Matter of fact, to debunk your concept, Luke 21:24, the Messiah said, "They shall be led captive in all nations," right? So when was any, and then the two, to add insult to injury, Tim Weiss breaks it down. All white is a new construct. You have tribal people. So the Anglos and Saxons is a combination, right? The Jutes, the Vandals, the Scandals, the Burgundies, barbarians, right? They are not one and the same people. So, but the scripture says that Israel will be led captive to all nations. Where was the tribe, the Germanic tribes led captive into all nations? Where did they fulfill that prophecy that the Messiah said that will be led captive to all nations? Where? Where's the receipts? There is no receipts. But you could go anywhere in the world and talk about the slave trade and the international slave trade. I'm not talking about indentured servants. I'm talking about forced migration, right? Where in your history is that? Right. Okay. So continue, right? So that was a source from John Barbet, Description of the Coast of North Africa and Guinea. That's on page 401. Now the second one that my issue read was written by R.B. Lewis in 1844, a colored man, and he was native and colored. Okay, he claims his Native American heritage, and his Negro ancestry, right? So he said Abraham was the father of many nations, he said, through Ishmael, right? He was the progenitor of the nations of Arabia, through his sons Keturah of the inhabitants of the troglodytes or Africa. Through Isaac, he possessed Canaan, and whose testimony of history proves these nations are colored. So now, you have to undo history, right? Because here we see Arabia. When you say Arabia, we're talking about what? The desert, Saudi Arabia, all of the lands south, right? The south lands where it's hot. So Ishmael, that's Ishmael's seed through Abraham. Then you got Keturah's seed, which populated Africa, right? And Isaac's seed remained in Canaan, in the land of Canaan, right? So you can't have it. I don't care what you say. You can cry and whine all day long, but you can't have it. You can't use it, not Burger King, right? You can't make the European nations, right, fulfill the prophecies of the Israelite nation. When you find a people that fulfill these prophecies, then you found a people, right? When you find a people that was forced to serve the God of wood and stone, and to serve under to this very day, right? Somebody made a point in a video I was listening to. Pull your wallet out and look at the dollar bills. I think it was my buddy. What's his name? You don't see near one black person on them dollar bills. So that's proof is in the pudding, right? All right. So the next source was this West African countries and peoples, British and native, on page 186, says the influence of Judaism on Africa is greater and far diffused than that of the Jews and their geographic extension. So read that again. The influence of Judaism on Africa is greater and farther diffused than that of the Jews and their geographical extension. If we take, for instance, the race under consideration, I will go still further and assert that the more we study them in all their various relationships, the more shall we be convinced that they form a portion of these lost tribes, right, who disobeyed the commandments of Yah and were dispersed, but are now mingled with the original inhabitants of the country, and so degenerate in the form in which they now appear. So what is that saying? That's syncing with the prophecy, right? Mm-hmm. Lamentation says the Israelites would be among the Gentiles as a vessel wherein there is no pleasure.
Degenerate.
Huh? So everywhere we go, people want to move out.
Hated among all nations.
They want to kick us out. That's why they come up with this new Christian nationalism, right? They want us out. All right.
The tail.
Leo says there are kingdoms on the south frontiers of this country which are inhabited by rich, industrious, and just sort of people. So once again, we going back to Leo Africanus, right? In his book, that's number 28. Actually, this is another book, but he's quoting Leo, right? This is Atlas Geographus, copyright 1714, volume 4. Okay, so he said, Leo said there are kingdoms on the south frontiers of this country which are inhabited by rich, industrious, and just sort of people. Judaism was the religion of the ancient Africans for a long time, right?
But
Judaism was a religion of the ancient Africans for a long time and succeeded by Christianity, but Mohammedanism prevailed in the 208th year of the Hijra, when all the Hebrews, Christians, and professors of the African religion that could be found were put to death. Yet in the process of time, their intestine quarrels made them neglect Mohammedan's law and revolt from the Caliph of Baghdad, for which they were severely punished by the Mohammedan caliphs, who caused all their books to be burnt on suspicion that knowledge of the arts and sciences prompted them to condemn Muhammad's law. So that's how the Hebrews got out of Islam. So all my Islamic friends, brothers and sisters that has embraced Islam, you need to know that Islam was imposed upon us, right? And then they burn our books. That's why you can't find some books, because they burned the books. Right? So a lot of stuff was carried down orally because they burnt books, which, to my point, why circumcision was practiced. Circumcision was not practiced in Europe. Okay? The scholars will tell you that. Okay. So, Hopeful Soul.
I'll say that anyway.
All right. Hopeful Soul, I challenge you to, I always do this because y'all like to get on the keyboard and type in, but when I throw the challenge out there, I don't get no response. Send me an email. We can go live. Okay? Send me an email, yahresh@yahoo.com. Come clean. Come with your information. Come with, identify who you are. If you have a YouTube channel, let me know where your channel is. Let's set it up and we'll come on your channel and we'll have a discussion. But all this hiding behind the keyboard and typing your feelings and what you think and what you believe and all of that means nothing to me, right? We're here teaching a lesson and you're trying to teach the lesson on the side, right? That right now, you're showing me that you don't have respect for your own beliefs by being disrespectful, by trying to teach a class in the process while class is going forward.
That's prideful.
I bet you don't do that in your church while the pastor's preaching. You're not having a sidebar conversation.
He said, I might send you email to a scholar.
Okay. So all I'm asking to do is
send your email to a scholar.
Huh?
He said I might send your email to a scholar.
No, I want to discuss you. You the one that's doing all this talking. And
hello.
So let's deal with you. Okay? You the scholar. You the one that got so much to say in this room, in this stream.
Black supremacist. Oh my goodness.
But now you want to back up. You want to back up
and call us a black supremacist.
You want to back up. You want to back up and be be a coward now. Chicken George.
Is Yahshua
right?
A black supremacist because when he comes, he's gathering the scattered ones.
I'm not gonna let name calling get me there, take me there. Okay, I'll be like the sisters was in the six. What's it called? 6888. When Kerry Washington said, "We're not going to go there," but I'm not going to go because that's where you want me to go. I'm not going to go there with you. You want to have a scholarly discussion? Let's do that. Okay. If you're going to continue to be disrespectful and throw cheap shots, I'm just going to mute you and be done with you. Okay? Or have one of the administrators to silence you, right? Okay. So we're not going to do that, all right? So if you think you got something, let's do it. I don't need your scholar. I need you. Because you here posting in this forum. So if you stand up to your own, then do it. All right? Don't send a representative. Don't be a beta male now. You being an alpha male, you being an alpha male doing all that texting. Now all of a sudden call you out. Now you want to be a beta male. We'll go in the corner and suck your thumb now. Don't do that. Stand your ground. Send me your email. Give me a YouTube channel. We can go live after this is over. Okay? I'm all for it.
What about the Valley of Jehoshaphat? What's going to happen there?
Well, we haven't even had a discussion because he's not ready to go there. All right, let's get back into this. Is for sorry for interrupting everybody. All right, now. So let's see where we at here. I just might do a video to debunk all your comments.
Further torturing.
I'll go to because you know I do it. That's my style. I go and look at it. So if you don't want me to do a video on your comments, you better delete the comments because I do a video on them. Let me get back to where I was. Okay. Atlas Geographus, right? Atlas Geographus says, once again, he says, Judaism was the religion of the ancient Africans for a long time, succeeded by Christianity, but Mohammedan prevailed in the 208th year of Hegira, right? So it seems like to me we went from Christianity to Islam. And then revolted back. All right. Okay. Here's another quote. This one is from John Ogilvy's. Okay, I'll read because I know it's kind of small. The Portuguese that dwell on this island informed the Netherlands that few people above 50 years there, yet notwithstanding the great gain tempted them to tarry, several of them having 200 or 300 Negroes that worked in the sugar mills. That John III, King of Portugal, sent a colony there above 200 years before, whom though the unwholesome air destroyed, yet the place was not left desolate, for he sent new inhabitants who first settled in Guinea, right? Next to Angola. And lastly, the island of St. Thomas, that so they might be better used to the air, that the said king sold all those Hebrews for slaves that refused to embrace the Roman religion, and caused their children to be baptized, from whom coming there in great numbers, most of the present inhabitants were descended. We're talking about what? In Guinea and what? In Angola, right? Here's another quote. On the tombs of Egypt, the most valuable of all existing records, there stands the Negro, the Jew, the Copt, the Persian, the Samaritan, nearly as we find them still. That is James Africanus Horton, West African Peoples, Countries and Peoples. Okay. Next quote is, do not these religious rites and ceremonies remind us forcibly of the Jewish dispensation when sacrifices were made to atone for the sins of the people? And does not this present an emphatic proof of what Mr. Locker wrote, that apart from the native religion of Africa, Judaism forms an element which enters Africa by natural current of nations from the northeast, from Egypt, Ethiopia, North Africa, and though And though there were comparatively few Jews south of Sahara and Abyssinia, still by the connection of the Jews of Africa, countries since the days of Moses, Abraham, Joseph, Solomon, as well as the destruction of Jerusalem and the consequent scattering of the Jews all over the globe, the influence of Judaism on Africa is greater and further diffused than that of other Jews and their geographical extension. That part, that was a quote I pulled out of. We read that earlier. Okay. This is 32. This is C.F. Volney, produced in 1822. It says, here a singular analogy presents itself. Eusebius, in his Chronicon by Scaliger, says in a year corresponding to 1575 before the Messiah, that Ethiopians coming from the river Indus encamped and settled near Egypt. The Jews, by their own avowal, being of Chaldean race, a branch of who? Black Arabs. It followed that they are real Ethiopians. Did you hear that? He calls them a branch of Black Arabs. Okay. And that was from C.F. Volney, Eusebius, New Researches on Ancient History, Volume 2, copyright 1821, right? Here's another quote. Among those vast herds of them which are dispersed through this great continent, these have been since dislodged from their high and almost inaccessible mountains for their frequent ill offices to those princes, and finding with their revolted subjects, and have brought into due subjection and laid under tribute to them, since which time they have lived dispersed into several provinces of that empire, and have made but an inconsiderable figure in it. There are some who call themselves ordinary Jews of the posterity of Abraham, who pretend to have formerly come in colonies and have settled themselves in Egypt, Abyssinia, that's Ethiopia, and long the Niger, and these last are more numerous and considerable than the two former, right? But those who came and are here still in the greatest numbers are such as refuged themselves in these parts, either after the destruction of Jerusalem and the dispersion of the Jewish nation by Titus of Vespasian, mentioned in the former chapter, or who fled from the persecutions under the Romans, Persians, Saracens, and under the Christians, as out of Italy, and Spaniards, Portugal in 1462, out of the Low Countries in 1350, France in 1403, England 1422. All of these go differently habited as well as divided among themselves. That's a quote from Ware Hitch Rivington, the Davy, the modern part of a universal history from the earliest times, volume, was that 14, and copyright 1759 on page 22, right? All right, these references will be in my book, so I'm not giving no links out or references. Okay, if you can screenshot and catch it and you can find it, it's good for you. All right, let me see, where was that? This is another quote. The present Christians in Africa are partly strangers and partly natives, some of them slaves to the Turks and barbarians, others free. Some of the Jews who inhabit both sides of the Niger You can't make this stuff up, I'm telling you. Some of the Jews who inhabit both sides of the Niger, talking about the Niger River, derived themselves from Abraham. Others fled here from Asia when Vespasian destroyed Jerusalem, or from Judea when it was wasted by the Romans, Persians, Saracens, and Christians. Some were banished from Italy in 1342, Spain in 1462, and from the Low Countries in 1350, from France in 1403, and England in 1422. Okay, now Dawkins Boyd, right, who I mentioned, he tells you that these Africans went up into Europe first. They were in Portugal and Spain, right? And they were in Ireland, right? I got some Irish DNA too. They were in Germany. We was all over the place. But I digress. So that was Atlas Geographus, copyright 1714, volume 4, page 39. The next reference is ancient writers referred to Josephus an eminent authority. Tacitus contended that Libya was the cradle of the Hebrew race. Let me back that up again, right? Ancient writers referred to by Josephus an eminent authority. Tacitus contended that Libya was the cradle of the Hebrew race. An old author quoted by Josephus describes a race that were in western Ethiopia before the time of Abraham, the Judeans. These were probably the Hebrews of Libya and the Sahara, just in case you say, with no Negroes in the Sahara. And the Sahara, they are different from what are known as Barbary Jews. Oh, so wait a minute.
Mm-hmm.
So they weren't Berbers. They're different from them. You would say they were Berbers. They were olive skin. He said they're different.
Something like the barbarics.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. They're different than the Barbary Jews. These were probably the Hebrews of Libya of Sahara. They are different from what are known as the Barbary Jews, the descendants of fugitives from Spain and Portugal. Some of the Jews in Sahara are black with woolly hair. That's John Murray, a report of the 57 meeting of the British Associates, Advocates of, I think, Society, 1888, page 909. So now I like what he says here. He says they were different, right? And they were in the Sahara, but they weren't the Berbers. Y'all scholars want to say, oh, the Berbers. But he's saying they weren't the Berbers. See, the Berbers, they were a lighter hue.
He must have sent his representative.
Oh, the representative. Hey.
Please.
Let me level with you, representative. Okay. All right. I don't know if you're a pastor or teacher or whatever, but when you're doing your class, right, do you allow people to come in your class and interrupt you and you have a one-on-one dialogue with them? If you do, invite me to your class and I'll do the same thing. There you go. I think it's probably another troll he brought in.
There's a couple of them in here now.
All right. But look, stick around because what?
You're going to learn today.
All right. Now, so once again, I want to reread this because somebody missed it. So ancient writers referred to Josephus and an eminent authority. Okay. So they refer to Josephus as
By Josephus.
They refer to by Josephus as eminent authority. Tacitus contended that Libya was the cradle of the Hebrew race. So are you smarter than Tacitus? He's quoting Tacitus. Said Tacitus said Libya was the cradle of the Hebrew race. Let's go back. Because we already told you that Abraham had children by Keturah, and they populated Africa. So these people were Hamitic because the mother was I think Keturah was a Canaanite. Okay? Descendant of Ham. So how in Yah's green earth can the people go from being Hamitic to being Eurocentric looking? It makes no sense at all. It's not scientific. It's not historical. It's just religious. It's just how you feel on your passion, right? But you can't argue with the scholars because the scholars are smarter than you are, right? They said Abraham's children, Africa was named after him, and those people in Africa practiced circumcision that they got from their ancestors, right? Now, going back to the book here, he says that the ancient writer referred to by Josephus, an eminent authority, Tacitus contended that Libya was the cradle of the Hebrew race. Libya. Who is Libya? Right? I'm glad you asked the question. So let's pull it up. Go to Genesis Table Nations, chapter 10, right? Genesis Table Nations, chapter 10. All right. So we got starting with Ham. Ham begot Cush, Mizraim, Phut, and Canaan. Phut, I think, is the Hellenized name of Libya, or Libya is the Hellenized name of Phut. I think that's the way it goes, right? So that's Africa. So if Zondervan is telling us that Ham is the father of the dark races of people, you can't, this is not Burger King. If Ham is the father of dark races of people, then how in Yah's green earth is the Canaanites white? Or Middle Eastern looking, or olive skin looking? I guess they're green, right? So how was that true, right? You can't have it. All the scholars, C.J. Schofield, Finis Dakes, Josephus, all of the writers, the older writers, credible writers, say that Ham is the father of the dark races of people. If they're telling the truth, and I believe they are, why would they all of a sudden lie now and say the Egyptians are European looking or olive skin or Middle Eastern looking? That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. The scholarship is off, right? All right. I'm going to look at the comments offline. I'm not going to interrupt where I'm going, right? I'll do a video on all those comments if time permits. All right. Now, where was that? So the scholar said what? The scholar said that Tacitus contends that Libya was the cradle of the Hebrew race, right? Left here. And he says, and describes a race that were in Western Ethiopia before the time of Abraham. Okay. So now, let's address this right here. He describes a race that were in Western Ethiopia before the time of Abraham. So we go back to Shem, right? Because Shem had other sons. Okay? Eber. The man just told you that Libya, he said Libya is the cradle of the Hebrew race, right? Where did the Hebrews come from? They came from Eber, right? That's the same line that Abraham came from. But the scholars tell us that the Libya is the cradle of the Hebrew. So when those descendants of Eber went somewhere, right? Phoenicians, they had the ships. I'm not gonna give you all my nuggets for free, but the Phoenicians had ships. They went all over the place. They went up into Europe and everything. They came over to this part of the world before Christopher Columbus. All right. So he says before the time of Abraham and the Judeans. So these Eberites, right, were here, right? Before the time of the Judeans, they were in Libya. So question, when did they become European looking then? If they were there before, okay, where did the European people looking like come from? They didn't come from Libya because Libya was the son Foot was the son of Ham. You can't have it both ways. You can't make Ham be half white, half black if he's black, according to the scholar C.J. Schofield, number 1, Finis Dakes, number 2, Josephus, number 3, Herodotus, number 4, Tacitus, number 5. I can continue to go on and on. Modern scholars are agreeing with the ancient scholars, right? Even French, right? The man who wrote the book that came before Columbus, before he died, he said they had the noses of the Sphinx in their archives. They chopped the nose of the Sphinx up. Okay. Okay. Let's see. I don't know. All right, let's get back. I'm not gonna let your trolls control the class. Let's get back in it. All right. I know I'm making you good and mad. All right. These were probably the Hebrews of Libya and the Sahara. So these were probably the Hebrews of Libya and the Sahara that got there before Abraham. So they were black before Abraham. They were black. They are different from what are known as Barbary Jews, the descendants of fugitives from Spain and Portugal. Some of the Jews in Sahara are black with woolly hair, right? I know that it made you mad, but you take that with John Murray. He says some of the Jews in the Sahara are black, blacker than black, with woolly hair. This is not some angry black supremacist saying this. This is not some angry black man. This is a scholar, a European scholar that's saying that. Right? The Greeks, somebody posted Greeks. You don't know your Greek history. Greeks came from the Negroes too. Right? Phoenicians and Canaanites raped the women in the islands. Okay? All right, let's continue. My next reference, I got a whole lot more. Let's see. Who do I want to quote now? This is 37. Let me know if I'm going too far. I got a whole lot more. No, this is it. Oh, this is it right here. Okay. So let's go with this one here. Many things I have already said and shall have occasion to add hereafter seem to have some conformity between those black and the ancient Jews. Let's read it again. Many things I have already said and shall have occasion to add hereafter seem to have some conformity between those blacks and the ancient Jews, which may perhaps have been communicated to them by the Arabs, who have spread themselves into neighboring countries, and being doubtless descended from Ishmael, the son of Abraham by Hagar, and Esau, the son of Isaac, have preserved some of the customs and opinions of their forefathers. That's a quote from John Barbat. Description of the coast of North and South Guinea, 1788, page 307. All right. Next quote I have here is, the dwellers in Ribhah, in parentheses, Jericho of old, in Arabic, Sidar, are of the Negro type. They have black, black Black. Hey, people say there's no such thing as black. Y'all made it black and white now. We can talk about black and white now. There's no such thing as black. That's funny level, right? Wait a minute. Wait a minute.
Wait a minute.
Y'all are angry because you taught us, right? I'm gonna tell you like Minister Louis Farragut said, you was my teacher. You taught me black and white. And now I'm using the black and white, and now you're gonna tell me that black don't exist. Right?
Am I right?
That's right.
All right. So you're going to tell me that it don't exist. So I ain't trying to hear none of that. All right. So now, here we go. Where was I at? So he said, let's read this. This one is C. Scort's The Scattered Nation, Past, Present, and Future, Volume 2, copyright 1867 on page 214. So let's read it again. He says, the dwellers in Ribhah, the Jericho of old. Where's Jericho at? Joshua fought the battle of Jericho. He says, the Jericho of old in Arabic cedar are of the Negro type. They have black, woolly hair, and their countenances are deficient in intelligence. What does that mean?
Your countenance.
Huh?
How is your countenance?
Deficient in intelligence?
Yeah. I
So,
guess,
you know how the saying goes, I'm not as dumb as I look?
facial expressions
Right.
and whatnot. Yeah, you come speaking in some strange language and everything else. Of course I'm going to look at you strange. Of course I'm going to look like I don't know something. I'm speaking a language that I'm not familiar with.
Oh, my
And
mercy.
I possibly could be seeing of people that I've never seen before.
See,
Your
it's
fathers have inherited lies. You can't handle the truth.
wait a minute. See, when you come across an educated, knowledgeable Negro, it's intimidating. That's why corporate America didn't like me. I got too much knowledge, right? So, I'm in my space now. You can't touch this ding ding ding. Let's get back in. I got more, y'all. Okay. Now, the next quote is, the original Jew and Negro were descended from the same father. Let me read that again. The original Jew and Negro were then descended from the same father. The evidence of intermarriage you mentioned is a universal phenomenon, and the close affinity between Hamitic and Semitic speech and between the northern Hamitic people and the Semites shows close relationship as you surmise. Abraham's father Terah was the son-in-law of Nimrod, according to the Eastern Authority. I guess they're smarter than me. The Eastern Authority said he's the father-in-law, son-in-law of Nimrod. This would give us added proof of the direct descent of Abraham himself from Negro ancestry. That quote comes from Arthur T. Tabernethy, The Jew, a Negro, copyright 1910, page 13 and 55. Okay. Yehudi, the next quote, Yehudi, a place of great trade. This place is reported to be inhabited by one of the lost tribes of Israel. And read that again, right? Yehudi, a place of great trade. This place is reported to be inhabited by one of the lost tribes of Israel, possibly an immigration from the tribe of Yehuda. Yehuda in Africa, Arabic, signifies Judah. Once again, Yehuda in Africa, Arabic, signifies Judah. One more time. Yehuda in Africa, Arabic, signifies Judah. Yehudi signifies Jew. Yehudi signifies what?
Jew.
It is not impossible that many of the lost tribes of Israel may be found dispersed in the interior regions, not North Africa, interior. Read that again. It is not impossible that many of the lost tribes of Israel may be found dispersed in the interior regions of Africa. When we shall become better acquainted with the continent, it is certain that some of the nations that possess the country eastward of Palestine, when the Israelites were favored nation, have immigrated to Africa.
You're going to learn today.
That is a quote from Thomas Winterbottom, an account of native African in the neighborhood of Sierra Leone. Volume 1, page 187. All right. I have one more quote for you. I think this is the last one. Okay. Africa, so-called from the Grecians. According to Festus, right, and most eminent geographers, signifies wanting or devoid of cold. Although by some, the whole was taken from Libya, the Libya again, which is now but a single province. So in other words, what is it saying? All of Africa, they once called it Libya, certain circles. Some certain circles called it Ethiopia, right? But they didn't call it Europe. All right. It is not. Where's that? Okay, lots of place. Taken from. Let's say. Let me back up again. Africa, so-called from the Grecians, according to Festus, who was Festus, okay, and most eminent geographers, signifies wanting or devoid of cold, though by some of the whole was taken for Libya, which is now but a single province. Also, they called it Olympia, Oceania, Corfu, Hesperia, Orturgia, Amonis, Ethiopia, Cyrene, Osiusa, is that right? Osiusa, Siphinia, and Eria. I guess Eritrea, Eria. But the Romans called it only Libya. So the Romans called it Libya. And Africa. Libya from Libya, daughter of Ephesus. Yeah, Epiphus, the son of Jupiter. Let me back up because I messed up here. I butchered that. The Romans called it Libya right here. Let's make that red. Okay, let's bold it up. The Romans called it Libya and Africa. Libya from Libya, the daughter of Epaphras, right? Epaphras. All right. Now, so interesting, right? We're learning a little something today, right? We're learning.
You're going to learn today.
So Libya from Libya, the daughter of Ephesus, the son of Jupiter. Oh, how about that? So now, little side note, Jupiter was an African deity like Hercules was. So Europeans bought everything from the Hamitic people to start, right? They just Hellenized or Eurocentricized. That's a word I made up. Let's put that in the dictionary. Eurocentricized. They Eurocentricized the deities that the Hamitic African people made. Because when we read, we said after Shem died, Shem who's Melchizedek, after Shem died, right? And Abraham, the sons of Abraham started serving and worshiping many deities, right? That we read earlier, right? So they started worshiping many deities. So this is how you get Hercules, Jupiter, and Zeus. The Greek Zeus came from the African Phoenicians, who invaded the islands and raped their women. That's why Cleopatra looked like a Negro. She's a result of Phoenicians and Edomite. I'm giving you too much information now. She's a combination of Phoenicians and Edomites, because Esau, Edom, Phoenicia kind of hung together, right? They were like road dogs, right? That's all I'm going to tell you. I'm not going to tell you no more about it. You're going to have to get my book on Esau. I can't give you too much of my nuggets. All right. No, you're wrong there. The oldest civilization, the Greek, is not the island Crete. You're wrong there. We can prove that. We can prove you wrong there. Okay, you got to go way back before Crete. Okay, now maybe in your school you learned that, but we go way back, brother. All right, now where was that? Okay, let me finish this up. Libya from Libya, daughter of Epaphras, the son of Jupiter, and Africa from Epher, the son of Hercules. So now, what's the significance between Epher and Hercules, right? The connection is, it's the same Epher. They call him Hercules. So what happened was, when the sons of Abraham went to Africa and made deities, wanted the father of Epher, let's go back to the book again. All right, go back to Genesis real quick as we prepare to wrap this up. All right, Table Nations. Not Table Nations. Genesis. Let's see, what chapter is that? When Abraham had Keturah. Look at 26, 25. Okay. So, Ephra was the son of Medan, right? The sons of Medan, Ephra, Hanak, Abida, Eldah. So those are the children of Medan. So Medan, apparently, according to what they're saying, they must have called him Hercules, because he's the son. Epher was the son of Hercules. So when you go back in here, right, and we see now Epher, the son of Hercules, right? So that's who Hercules is. So Hercules was Abraham's son through Keturah, okay? Medan. right? Let's pull up again, just for clarity, okay?
If you click on it, does it say that?
Huh?
If you click on the H,
Me then?
I'm just wondering.
Right. It just says, okay. Remember when Shemaiah or Moses married Zipporah,
Mm-hmm.
and they call her an Ethiopian woman?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
She comes from Keturah,
Mm-hmm.
right? And through that line, there's a lot of mixing with the Ethiopians and Canaanites. Okay. Okay, back in so I can wrap it up here. Okay. I'm running out of speed now. All right. And Africa from Epher and son of Hercules. Moors, if you consult Thebes geography, called it Alkebulan, and the Indians Bezkath, the Arabians who formerly overran the major part knew their conquest by the name of Ifriqiya. So, that's interesting right there. Did you learn something right there?
You're gonna learn today.
Let's back this up here. Make it make sense. So Africa was named Libya, right, by the Romans after the daughter of Ephes, son of Jupiter. And Africa from Epher, the son of Hercules. The Moors, right? The Moors are Moabites, right? That's who the Moors are. Moors are Moabites. Okay. In their history, if I had time, it'd be another hour long. I could pull this out and show it to you. The Moors, Moabites, if you consult Thebes geography, call it Alkebulan. So the Moors call it Alkebulan, right? So they were black, they were Moabites, right? So descendants of Moabites were descendants of Lot, Moab and Ammon, okay? If you consult the Thebes, now once again, see a lot of the history is intertwined with the Canaanite Phoenician people, because there was a lot of alliances between the Phoenician and the Canaanite people. Edomites had alliances with them. The Greeks had alliances with them. As a matter of fact, the Phoenicians taught the Greeks how to make ships. Okay. If I had time, I'd show you the reference. But the Phoenicians were the first ones, right? Tyre. There was an interchange of marriage there that they was able to teach the Greeks. See, the African people taught the Europeans. It's not the other way around. So they're not going to teach you that, but that's the reality. That's the realness of it. They taught them how to make ships, right? So the Phoenician Canaanites were Hamitic black people, including Hannibal the animal, not Hannibal Lecter. Hannibal, the Carthaginian general, he was Hamite. Phoenician, right? They are the ones that did the sea trade, the Mediterranean Sea. It wasn't called Mediterranean back then, right? Okay. So let's go back in. Okay. So the Moors were the Moabites. Is if you consult the Thebes geography, that's another book you can get. They call it Alkebulan, and the Indians Bezekah, and the Arabians. Okay, the Arabians. So now when you say Arabians, wow. Arabian is just a terminology that means mixed. Every Ishmaelite will be classified as an Arabian but you have different tribes of Arabians because there's a mixture. So you have some Arabians that have higher hues, and you have some Arabians that have a darker hues, right? Okay, so the Arabians who formerly overran the major part knew their conquest by the name of Ifriqiya. So now, I would venture to say that these Arabians are Phoenician, Canaanite slash Libyans intermingling with possibly some Greeks in there too as well, right? So that's why you get the different shades from the intermingling of the sons. This is what an Arab is, right? You have African Arabs and you have, or dark African Arabs like we read earlier, and you have a lighter hue Arabs, right? So all Arabs are not the same. It says, who formerly overran the major part knew their conquest by the name of Ifriqiya. So these Arabians got partnership with the Phoenicians who had made the ships. That's how they got there. Okay. Conquest by the name of Ifriqiya, derived from the word Farouk, which signifies separation, because it is visibly more separate not only from theirs, but from all other countries than any other part of the whole world. For the Midland Sea parts, it from Europe and the Arabian Gulf from Asia and the Atlantic Ocean from the later discoveries. Some Arabians, as Mormo tells us, call it Ifriqiya in honor of Malek. Ifriqiya. Okay. So that is a quote from Africa Being an Accurate Description by John Ogilvy, copyright in 1690 on page 2, right? All right. So that's going to conclude our quotes. And as I said, I'm going to look at these comments. I'll probably look at them offline because we've been on here long enough. What time is it? 12:15. We're way over our time, but I wanted to give you some resources and references. This lesson, this video, you're going to want to replay it again. If you have the ability to download it. If you want to repost it, let me know. Don't just repost it, because I have the right. I could actually block it, but the information is there. Okay. All right. So we're going to go ahead and wrap this session up. We'll be back next Shabbat, and we'll continue on the sons, or the history of the called out ones, as we go branch from Abraham to, I thought I was going to do from Abraham to Shemaiah or Moses, but that was too much information for Abraham. So we'll pick up from the sons of Abraham and go forward on next Shabbat. All right. With that said, brothers and sisters, I'm going to go ahead and sign off. Praise the Most High for all y'all that all of you, y'all, saying country person, all of you all that came in today to fellowship and to learn, and some of those that came in to challenge. We'll look at your comments, and I'll do a segment and address anything that I feel that I need to bring clarity on or be corrected on. So with that said, Father, we thank and praise you for all those who came and joined us today, those who come later on. Our prayer and our desire that the peace of God that passes all comprehension keep hearts, mouth, and Yahshua Messiah until we meet again the next time, at the point in time. We say hallelujah.
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 Todayah.
Todayah.
Amen.
Amen.
Shalom, shalom, shalom.